Nobody expected this, but the truth is now out. Riley Burruss' boyfriend has been arrested after explosive leaked scandal footage and shocking allegations surfaced online. From viral videos to fan outrage, the internet is in a complete meltdown, and the truth behind this arrest will leave you speechless. This is not just gossip. This is the full, unfiltered story everyone's talking about right now. The internet is in shock as breaking news confirms that Riley Burruss' boyfriend has been arrested after explosive allegations and a viral leaked scandal that has left fans speechless. Social media platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok are flooded with reactions. Hashtags like #RileyBurrussDrama and #BoyfriendArrested are trending, and thousands are debating what really happened behind the scenes. Sources close to Riley reveal that this nightmare started just days ago when a private hotel video began circulating online, allegedly showing her boyfriend in a compromising situation. Within hours, the clip spread like wildfire, shared in group chats, reposted on fan pages, and dissected frame by frame by drama channels. Many fans initially dismissed it as fake or edited, but the story took a dark turn when law enforcement confirmed his arrest in connection to the leaked material and other shocking allegations. Eyewitnesses claim Riley was blindsided by the news. Just a week earlier, the couple had been spotted together, appearing happy and united during a night out, completely unaware of the storm that was about to hit. Insiders say Riley had no idea the video even existed until it started appearing in her tagged photos online. When the arrest warrant was issued, the details in the police statement sent shockwaves through her fanbase. Not only did it confirm the authenticity of the leaked clip, but it also hinted at deeper, more disturbing accusations that authorities are still investigating. This revelation turned what many thought was just another celebrity relationship scandal into a serious criminal case that could have lasting consequences. Fans are torn. Some are rallying behind Riley, flooding her posts with messages of love and support, urging her to stay strong and focus on her own peace. Others, however, are demanding answers, questioning how much she knew about her boyfriend's actions and whether she had tried to protect him before the truth came out. The comment sections of her recent Instagram posts are filled with heated debates, with some defending her innocence while others accuse her of being complicit. Meanwhile, entertainment blogs are dissecting every past interview, Instagram story, and public appearance the couple has made together, searching for clues that might have hinted at trouble behind closed doors. According to sources familiar with the investigation, the leaked video wasn't just any random footage. It was allegedly recorded without consent and involved situations that could carry serious legal consequences. This is why the arrest has been taken so seriously by both law enforcement and the public. Multiple outlets are reporting that federal cybercrime units may now be involved, as the distribution of such material across state lines could escalate the charges. Lawyers familiar with similar high-profile cases have been weighing in on YouTube and news panels, explaining that if proven, these charges could lead to years behind bars, massive fines, and permanent damage to reputations. Riley herself has remained mostly silent, only posting a cryptic Instagram story with a black screen and the words, "Some things you can't come back from." This brief statement has only fueled speculation, with fans and drama channels analyzing it for hidden meaning. Was it about her boyfriend's betrayal? Was it a message to the fans? Or was it directed at someone else entirely? The lack of clarity has made the mystery even more gripping. Meanwhile, paparazzi photos show her avoiding public events, wearing oversized sunglasses and hoodies, trying to escape the relentless media attention. The arrest itself took place late at night, outside a private residence where Riley's boyfriend was reportedly staying. Neighbors described seeing multiple police cars and officers at the scene, some wearing tactical gear. One witness told reporters they heard shouting and loud knocks before the suspect was taken away in handcuffs. Videos from that night, filmed by bystanders, are already going viral on Twitter, showing the chaotic scene as fans screamed questions and photographers tried to capture the moment. The footage has been replayed millions of times, further cementing the scandal as one of the biggest celebrity dramas of the year. As the dust begins to settle, one thing is clear. This is not just another Hollywood gossip story. The combination of a celebrity relationship, a viral leaked video, criminal allegations, and an unexpected arrest has turned this into a full-blown media frenzy. Every detail is being scrutinized, from the timeline of their relationship to past rumors that were once brushed off but now seem hauntingly relevant. And for Riley, this could be a defining moment in her career and personal life, as she faces the difficult task of distancing herself from the controversy while dealing with her own emotional fallout. In the days following the arrest, the story surrounding Riley Burruss' boyfriend continued to spiral, drawing in not just entertainment outlets but also mainstream news channels. This wasn't simply a celebrity gossip headline anymore. It had evolved into a full-blown criminal case with serious implications. The initial police report, which was released to the public after heavy media pressure, painted a picture that was far more disturbing than fans had anticipated. It stated that the leaked hotel clip, which had already been viewed by millions online, was only part of a broader investigation into potential violations of privacy, unauthorized distribution of explicit content, and alleged coercive behavior. Each allegation seemed to open a new layer of questions, not just about the suspect, but about what Riley knew, when she knew it, and how she had been affected by all of this behind closed doors. The media frenzy intensified as more details leaked. Journalists camped outside the courthouse where his bail hearing was scheduled, hoping to catch a glimpse of Riley or her representatives. Fans live-streamed from the scene, their phones capturing every moment, from the defendant's arrival in an orange jumpsuit to the hushed whispers among reporters when the judge denied bail due to the severity of the charges. The denial sent shockwaves through social media, triggering a second wave of hashtags like #NoBail, #JusticeForRiley, and #CelebrityScandalExposed. TikTok creators uploaded reaction videos dissecting the legal terminology used in court, and within hours, hashtags had millions of views. While all of this unfolded, Riley's silence began to weigh heavily on her followers. Her absence from social media was unlike her usual activity. She had always been relatively open with her fans, posting snippets of her life, family moments, and updates about her career. Now, days had passed without a single post. Insiders close to her claimed she was staying at an undisclosed location with her family, shielding herself from the relentless questions and the flashing cameras that followed her everywhere. One source revealed that Riley was heartbroken and embarrassed, adding that she felt blindsided not only by her boyfriend's alleged actions but also by the way the story had been plastered across the internet. Rumors began to swirl about the timeline of their relationship. Old paparazzi photos resurfaced showing the couple during happier times, vacations, red carpet events, and even casual coffee runs, now being reanalyzed for signs of tension or trouble. Internet sleuths, eager to play detective, began connecting dots that may or may not have been there, suggesting that the relationship had been rocky for months. Some claimed Riley had been spotted in tears at public events long before the leaked video surfaced, while others speculated that she had been suspicious but unable to prove anything. Adding fuel to the fire, anonymous online accounts claiming to be friends of the couple began sharing their own stories, some alleging that Riley's boyfriend had a history of questionable behavior, others claiming they had warned her about him but she didn't listen. These unverified claims spread quickly, feeding into the narrative and making it increasingly difficult to separate fact from rumor. YouTube commentary channels released hour-long breakdowns, combining tabloid headlines, court documents, and supposed insider testimony to create a timeline of events. While some of these videos gained millions of views, they also raised ethical questions about speculation and the line between reporting and gossip. As the investigation deepened, law enforcement confirmed that they were also looking into the distribution network that had helped spread the leaked video. The authorities hinted at the possibility that the boyfriend may not have acted alone, that there could have been others involved in the leak and that charges might soon be brought against additional suspects. This revelation opened up another round of public debate, with many wondering if this was part of a larger scheme or just a reckless act by one individual. Meanwhile, Riley's mother, Riley Burruss, who is herself a well-known public figure, finally broke her silence in an emotional Instagram live session. Without naming names, Candy expressed her heartbreak over seeing her daughter dragged into such a scandal, saying that, "Sometimes the people we trust the most are the ones who hurt us the deepest." Her voice cracked as she asked fans to pray for their family and respect Riley's privacy during this time. The live stream was shared across platforms, with fans praising Candy for her strength and compassion. Despite the overwhelming public support, Riley remained under intense scrutiny. Tabloid photographers seemed determined to capture her first public appearance since the arrest, and when she was finally spotted, walking briskly into a lawyer's office with a baseball cap pulled low over her face, the images went viral. Speculation began about whether she was preparing to testify, sue for damages, or even press her own criminal charges against her ex-boyfriend. Behind the scenes, legal experts weighed in on Riley's potential involvement in the case, not as a suspect, but as a key witness. Given that the leaked video had a direct connection to her personal life, it was likely that prosecutors would call on her to provide testimony or evidence. This possibility stirred mixed reactions from fans. Some hoped she would use the opportunity to set the record straight, while others worried about the emotional toll it could take on her to relive such a traumatic experience in court. As the case moved toward its next hearing, one thing became clear: this was no longer just about Riley Burruss and her boyfriend. It had become a cautionary tale about trust, privacy, and the devastating consequences of digital betrayal in the modern age. Commentators pointed out that this wasn't an isolated incident. Similar scandals had rocked the entertainment industry before, but the added element of criminal charges and an arrest made this one stand out. For Riley, the path forward was uncertain. Would she rebuild her image and move on from the heartbreak, or would the shadow of this scandal follow her for years to come? The story's intensity showed no signs of slowing down. Every day brought new developments, a fresh piece of evidence, a new witness, or another viral video dissecting the events. And through it all, Riley remained at the center of a storm she never asked for, her name forever linked to one of the most shocking celebrity scandals of the year. The courtroom was packed to capacity as the third hearing in Riley Burruss' boyfriend's case began. This was the moment many had been waiting for, the day the prosecution would present the first batch of hard evidence linking him directly to the leak. The atmosphere inside was tense, the kind of tension you could almost feel in your bones. Lawyers shuffled stacks of paper, reporters scribbled in notepads, and camera shutters clicked from outside the closed doors, catching every possible glimpse of the people entering and exiting. Riley herself was not in attendance this time, a decision many speculated was meant to shield her from the emotional toll of seeing her ex in handcuffs and a prison jumpsuit. But her absence didn't lessen her presence. Her name was mentioned in nearly every exchange, every question, every piece of testimony. The prosecution wasted no time. They presented text messages allegedly sent from the defendant's phone in the days leading up to the leak. These messages, if authentic, were damning. They revealed conversations about making her pay and teaching her a lesson after an argument between the couple. The texts hinted at jealousy, resentment, and a desire for control, motives that the prosecution argued were central to the case. Alongside the texts, they presented digital forensic reports confirming that the explicit video had been uploaded from an IP address linked directly to the hotel room where the defendant was staying the night before it surfaced online. The prosecution's narrative was clear. This wasn't an accident, it wasn't a hack, and it certainly wasn't the work of a stranger. Meanwhile, the defense tried to poke holes in the timeline, suggesting that someone else could have had access to the defendant's devices. They argued that the texts were taken out of context and could have been about an entirely unrelated dispute. They floated the idea that a third party, perhaps someone from Riley's inner circle, might have been the real culprit. It was a risky move, and one that sparked outrage online. Fans were furious that the defense appeared to be pointing the finger at Riley's friends and family, seeing it as an attempt to smear her and shift public sympathy away from her. Outside the courthouse, the protest lines grew larger. Supporters of Riley held signs demanding justice and urging stricter laws against non-consensual content leaks. Advocacy groups for victims of digital abuse had begun using Riley's case as a rallying cry for legal reform, organizing petitions and lobbying lawmakers to strengthen privacy protection laws. News outlets picked up on the activism angle, further cementing Riley's situation as not just celebrity gossip but a symbol of a larger societal issue. Behind the scenes, Riley was reportedly working closely with her legal team to prepare for the possibility that she might have to take the stand. Friends said she was dreading it, not because she didn't want to fight for justice, but because the thought of having her most private, humiliating experience dissected in a public forum was almost unbearable. She worried about the emotional toll, the media frenzy, and the way the defense might twist her words. She also worried about how her testimony might reignite the online attention she had fought so hard to escape. As the trial continued, the prosecution brought in a digital privacy expert who explained to the court how metadata from the leaked file contained timestamps and GPS coordinates. The expert testified that these coordinates matched the hotel location and the exact date Riley and her boyfriend had been staying there. The revelation caused an audible gasp in the room. To many, this was the smoking gun, a direct, technical link that was hard to dispute. Even so, the defense remained defiant, filing motions to suppress certain evidence on the grounds of improper search procedures. Meanwhile, Riley's mother Candy once again addressed the public, this time through a carefully crafted statement released to the press. It was clear she had chosen her words with precision, balancing her desire to protect her daughter with her understanding of how the media machine works. No family should have to endure the kind of public humiliation and emotional devastation that we have faced these past weeks, the statement read. This is not just about us. It's about every victim who has had their privacy violated. It's about saying enough is enough. The statement was shared widely, gaining hundreds of thousands of likes and becoming a trending topic within hours. While the court proceedings painted one picture, social media painted another. Conspiracy theories swirled, claiming that the arrest was a setup, or that the case was part of a larger feud between powerful entertainment figures. These theories were amplified by influencers looking to cash in on the clicks and views, muddying the waters further. For Riley, the digital noise was relentless. Even with her accounts on private mode, she couldn't escape the headlines, the mentions, and the endless stream of unsolicited opinions. The emotional toll was starting to show. Sources close to her said she had trouble sleeping, often waking in the middle of the night with anxiety. She was reportedly seeing a therapist multiple times a week, trying to process not only the betrayal she had experienced but also the surreal nightmare of being at the center of a public scandal. Friends said she oscillated between moments of anger, wanting to see her ex face the maximum punishment, and moments of deep sadness, where she grieved not just the loss of the relationship but the loss of trust in people she thought she knew. As the hearing concluded for the day, the judge announced that the trial would resume with key witness testimonies in the coming weeks. The media immediately began speculating whether Riley herself would be the star witness. Legal analysts on TV debated whether her appearance would strengthen the prosecution's case or risk giving the defense more opportunities to undermine her credibility. The consensus was clear. If Riley testified, the trial would reach a fever pitch and public interest would skyrocket even further. The evening news recapped the day's events, showing slow-motion footage of the defendant being led away in cuffs and overlaid with dramatic music. Commentators called it the celebrity court case of the year, noting that it had all the elements of a blockbuster: love, betrayal, scandal, crime, and a fight for justice. For Riley, though, it was anything but entertainment. This was her life, her trauma, and her future being decided one court date at a time. Behind closed doors, the prosecutors were reportedly strategizing their next moves carefully. They understood that public opinion could be a powerful force, but they were determined to win the case based on evidence, not just emotion. They planned to introduce new testimony from people who had worked at the hotel that night, potentially placing the defendant in situations that further implicated him. They also hinted at unreleased evidence, something even more damning than what had already been shown. As the public awaited the next chapter in the trial, one thing was certain: this story was far from over. Each revelation only seemed to deepen the mystery and raise more questions about what really happened, what motivated the leak, and how Riley would emerge from this ordeal. In the eyes of her supporters, she was already a survivor, but whether the legal system would deliver the justice she deserved was still uncertain. The day Riley Burruss decided to walk into the courthouse herself, the city seemed to hold its breath. For weeks, speculation had swirled about whether she would testify, whether she could endure the grueling cross-examination that the defense was almost certain to launch. Until now, she had remained a silent presence in the trial, her absence a form of quiet defiance, letting the evidence and the prosecution's voice speak for her. But this morning, she arrived in a crisp navy blazer, her hair pulled back, eyes shielded behind dark glasses. The press swarmed instantly, shouting questions that she ignored, her steps steady despite the chaos around her. Inside the courtroom, her entrance was electric. The defendant glanced over, some said with regret, others with cold indifference. Riley did not return the look. She took her seat near the prosecution table, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. The air in the room was so thick with anticipation that even the sound of the gavel calling the court to order seemed louder than usual. Before Riley took the stand, the prosecution introduced a series of new witnesses, hotel staff who recalled seeing the defendant arguing with Riley in the hallway the night the video was allegedly recorded. Their testimonies painted a picture of escalating tension, of a man growing angrier and more controlling by the hour. One employee remembered hearing raised voices through the door and catching fragments of a conversation about loyalty and payback. Another testified that the defendant had requested a late checkout, unusual, given that Riley had left the hotel early the next morning. Then it was time. Riley was called to the stand. The shuffle of her footsteps seemed to echo, and every eye in the room followed her. After being sworn in, she took a deep breath, the microphone in front of her amplifying even the slightest tremor in her voice. The prosecution began gently, asking her to recount her relationship with the defendant, how they met, what drew her to him, and when things began to change. Riley spoke with measured precision, her words careful but clear. She described the charm he had at the beginning, the sense of safety she felt, and how slowly that safety eroded. She talked about arguments that escalated into shouting matches, moments where he would accuse her of betrayal over minor misunderstandings, and how his need for control began to overshadow everything else. When it came to the night in question, her voice wavered for the first time. She described the argument they had after a public event, how it carried over into the hotel room, and how she felt trapped, both physically and emotionally. She recalled leaving the room early the next morning to clear her head, unaware that anything had been recorded. Her voice grew softer as she explained the horror of discovering, days later, that a private moment had been uploaded online without her knowledge or consent. "I didn't recognize my life anymore," she said quietly. "It stopped being mine the moment that video went public." The courtroom was silent, except for the sound of typing from the court reporter's keyboard. Even the judge seemed to be watching her with a kind of measured empathy. The prosecution asked her to confirm whether she had ever given consent for the video to be shared. "Never," Riley said firmly, her voice suddenly steady again. Then came the cross-examination. The defense attorney's tone was polite but laced with the kind of calculated skepticism that made many in the audience bristle. They questioned her memory of events, asked whether alcohol had been involved, and even insinuated that her celebrity status might have made her more comfortable with public attention. Riley held her ground, refusing to be baited into anger. "There's a difference between sharing what you choose and having your privacy stolen," she said at one point, her voice sharp enough to cut through the defense's insinuations. But then, the defense made a move that caught everyone off guard. They introduced an anonymous statement claiming that Riley had been aware of the recording and had not objected at the time. The prosecution immediately objected, questioning the credibility of the source, but the defense pressed on, hinting that there might be more context to come. The judge allowed the line of questioning to continue within strict limits, and for a moment, it seemed the defense had managed to plant a seed of doubt. Riley's jaw tightened, but she refused to falter, answering each question with the same unwavering denial. When her testimony concluded, she stepped down from the stand without looking back. The tension in the room lingered long after she had left, the air buzzing with whispered speculation. Outside the courthouse, her supporters rallied louder than ever, chanting her name and waving signs demanding justice. Social media exploded with clips of her testimony, with hashtags like #JusticeForRiley and #ProtectPrivacy dominating the trending lists. As the trial progressed into its later stages, the prosecution shifted focus to dismantling the defense's consent narrative. They brought in additional digital experts who testified about the hidden nature of the camera's placement, the lack of any visible indication that recording was taking place, and the way the file was processed before being uploaded, steps that suggested deliberate concealment. They also revealed that the anonymous statement introduced by the defense had come from a dubious online source, raising questions about whether it had been fabricated entirely. The defense, however, was relentless. They argued that the case was not as straightforward as the prosecution made it seem, pointing to inconsistencies in witness recollections and suggesting that the prosecution's timeline was too neat to be real. They hinted at alternative suspects, including people from Riley's professional network who might have had motives of their own. While these theories lacked hard evidence, they introduced just enough uncertainty to keep the trial unpredictable. Meanwhile, Riley stayed out of the public eye except for her court appearances. Those close to her said she was exhausted, physically and emotionally drained from reliving the ordeal in such a public forum. Yet she remained committed to seeing the trial through to the end, determined to reclaim some measure of control over her story. As the fourth week of the trial drew to a close, the judge announced that closing arguments would begin soon, a signal that the case was entering its most decisive phase. Both sides were expected to deliver powerful summations, each trying to leave the jury with an image, a feeling, that would tip the scales in their favor. For Riley, the hope was simple, that the truth would be enough. The final day of the trial dawned under a gray sky, the kind that seemed to press low over the courthouse as if nature itself understood the weight of what was about to unfold. Reporters had been camped outside since before sunrise, their breath visible in the chilly morning air as they prepared for the verdict that would either vindicate Riley Burruss or deepen the wounds she had carried for months. Inside, the atmosphere was taut, every seat in the gallery filled, every corner occupied by people eager, or anxious, to see how the story would end. Riley arrived quietly, her expression unreadable beneath a pair of dark sunglasses. She was flanked by her mother and a small group of close friends who had been with her throughout the trial. When she took her seat, she didn't glance toward the defendant, who sat at the opposite table looking far less confident than in earlier days. His posture was hunched, his fingers drumming an unsteady rhythm against the table. It was as if the gravity of the moment had finally reached him. The judge entered, and the bailiff called the court to order. There would be no more witnesses, no more evidence, only the closing arguments that each side had carefully crafted to deliver the final blow. The prosecution went first, their voice steady but carrying a weight that seemed to settle over the entire room. They reminded the jury of the facts: the concealed camera, the uploading of the video without consent, the trail of digital evidence linking it to the defendant, and the harm it had caused Riley's life and career. They spoke of dignity, of trust, of the fundamental right to control one's own image. This case, the prosecutor said, is not about celebrity gossip or internet rumors. It's about a violation so intimate that it strikes at the core of personal freedom. Riley Burruss's privacy was stolen from her, and that theft must be answered with justice. The defense rose next, their tone almost imploring. They painted the picture of a complicated relationship, of misunderstandings and mixed signals. They emphasized the lack of direct eyewitnesses to the moment the camera was set up, questioning whether the prosecution had truly proved intent beyond a reasonable doubt. They suggested that the case had been shaped as much by public outrage as by hard evidence, hinting that the jury's emotions might be clouding their judgment. "Do not let sympathy replace certainty," the defense attorney urged. "The law demands proof, not sentiment." When the arguments ended, the jury was instructed and sent to deliberate. The hours that followed were an agonizing stretch of silence broken only by the occasional shuffle of feet or whispered speculation in the hallway. Reporters filed updates in real time, each guessing how long the decision might take. Riley sat in a quiet room with her legal team, staring at the wall, her mind a storm of memories and fears. She knew that the outcome would shape not only her own life but also the message it sent to anyone who had ever been violated in such a way. It was just after 5 p.m. when the word came. The jury had reached a verdict. The courtroom filled quickly, the energy charged, as everyone waited for the foreperson to speak. Riley's hands were clasped tightly in her lap, her mother's arm around her shoulders. The defendant sat rigid, his eyes fixed on the jury box. The foreperson stood, holding a slip of paper. The judge asked the question that seemed to hang in the air for an eternity. "On the charge of unlawful distribution of private material, how do you find the defendant?" The answer came crisp and clear: "Guilty." A ripple of reaction surged through the room, gasps, murmurs, a few muffled sobs. Riley closed her eyes, her lips pressing together in a silent, trembling exhale. The judge read the remaining charges: invasion of privacy, harassment, guilty on both counts. The defendant's shoulders slumped, his gaze dropping to the table in front of him. The judge ordered him into immediate custody, denying any request for bail before sentencing. 2 deputies stepped forward, placing handcuffs on his wrists. It was the first time Riley had looked at him in weeks, her gaze steady, almost defiant. There was no triumph in her eyes, only the quiet satisfaction of knowing that, at least in this courtroom, her truth had been believed. Outside, the crowd erupted. Supporters cheered, holding signs high, while reporters shouted questions into the frenzy. Social media exploded, hashtags like #JusticeForRiley and #GuiltyVerdict climbing to the top of trending lists within minutes. Clips of the verdict spread across every platform, sparking conversations about consent, privacy, and accountability. Later that night, Riley released a brief statement through her attorney. She thanked the jury for their careful consideration, the prosecution for their commitment, and her supporters for standing by her. "This verdict is not just for me," she wrote. "It is for anyone who has been made to feel powerless in the face of betrayal. Your voice matters. Your story matters. And justice is possible." The sentencing hearing, scheduled for the following month, promised to be another emotional chapter. Prosecutors indicated they would seek the maximum penalty, citing not only the harm to Riley but also the need to set a precedent that such violations would not be tolerated. The defense, meanwhile, hinted at an appeal, though legal experts suggested their chances of overturning the verdict were slim. In the days that followed, Riley began to step back into the public eye on her own terms. She gave a carefully chosen interview, not about the salacious details of the case, but about healing, resilience, and the importance of standing up for oneself. Her words resonated with millions, sparking a wave of support from fans and fellow public figures alike. She became, unexpectedly, a symbol of resistance against digital exploitation. For the defendant, the reality was stark. His legal battles were far from over, his reputation in shambles. Former friends and associates distanced themselves, and even those who had once defended him publicly began to fall silent. In the court of public opinion, as in the legal one, the damage was irreversible. The story would not vanish overnight. It had been too public, too sensational, but for Riley, the verdict marked the beginning of a new chapter. She knew the scars would remain, but so would the strength she had found in herself. The trial had forced her to relive some of her darkest moments, but it had also reminded her of the light that could still be found when the truth was finally heard. And so, as the courthouse lights dimmed and the crowds dispersed, Riley Burruss walked away from the building that had held her fate for so long. This time, she didn't hide behind sunglasses. This time, she let the cameras see her, not as a victim, but as someone who had faced the storm and walked out the other side, still standing.